Bills Mafia training camp is nearly here, and behind the scenes, something is clearly stirring inside one Bills drive. This is not a front office content to simply run it back and hope everything magically clicks into place. This is a front office actively hunting for that final missing piece on both sides of the football, and today we've got two genuinely massive storylines to break down. One involves a potential blockbuster addition to an already loaded offense. The other involves a defensive name so tantalizing that league executives are already whispering about it. Buckle up, because both of these stories could completely reshape what this roster looks like by the time Week 1 actually arrives. The veteran receiver Chase Nobody saw coming let's start on offense, because according to multiple reports circulating around the league, the Bills are continuing to closely monitor the veteran wide receiver market as training camp approaches. And here's the thing worth appreciating right away. This isn't a front office panicking or acting like something is fundamentally broken. This is a front office doing exactly what any team with legitimate championship expectations should be doing, relentlessly hunting for every possible upgrade before the regular season begins. And the two names generating the most buzz right now are DeAndre Hopkins and Brandon Cooks. Here's the context worth understanding first. Buffalo entered this offseason with real, genuine belief in the internal development of Keon Coleman, Khalil Shakir, and Curtis Samuel. And that belief is entirely understandable. Shakir has firmly established himself as one of Josh Allen's most trusted, dependable targets. Curtis Samuel brings the kind of positional versatility that can create matchup problems all over the field. And there's real, genuine optimism throughout the organization that Keon Coleman is ready to take a significant leap forward in his second NFL season. Coleman flashed real athletic upside and big playability during his rookie campaign, moments where you could genuinely envision him developing into a true number one outside receiver down the road. But here's the uncomfortable truth worth sitting with. Hoping isn't the same thing as knowing. And when your franchise quarterback is squarely in the middle of his physical prime and your realistic championship window is right now, not 2 or 3 years down the road, flashes of potential simply aren't enough of a foundation to build an entire receiving core around. That's exactly why DeAndre Hopkins has become such an intriguing name to watch. Sure, Hopkins is no longer the same explosive, top-tier receiver he was 5 or 6 years ago. But he remains one of the smartest, most technically refined route runners and contested catch artists in all of football. Someone who has spent his entire career finding soft spots in coverage and consistently making life easier for whichever quarterback he's throwing to. Picture this scenario: Josh Allen facing 3rd and 7 in a critical playoff moment, or the Bills backed up near the goal line in a high-stakes red zone situation. Having a savvy veteran like Hopkins on the field, someone who has already seen essentially every single defensive coverage look imaginable across his career, could be an enormously valuable weapon in exactly those moments, and beyond the on-field production itself. His veteran leadership could genuinely benefit a still-developing young receiver room. A player like Keon Coleman stands to gain a tremendous amount simply from learning day-to-day alongside someone who has spent over a decade as one of the most respected receivers in the entire league. And if Hopkins doesn't ultimately land in Buffalo, there's another name reportedly on the radar too: Brandon Cooks. Cooks brings a completely different flavor to the position, still known league-wide for his pure speed, precise route-running technique, and his ability to consistently stretch opposing defenses vertically down the field. That kind of downfield threat alone would open up even more space underneath for players like Khalil Shakir, Curtis Samuel, and tight end Dalton Kincaid to operate. There's also reportedly real coaching confidence that Cooks could slot into Buffalo's existing offensive system almost immediately, without requiring a lengthy adjustment period, a genuinely significant factor this late in the offseason calendar when there simply isn't time to teach a brand new player an entirely unfamiliar offensive scheme from scratch. And the timing behind all of this actually makes complete sense when you think it through. Every single offseason, there are veteran free agents who deliberately wait until training camp opens before finally signing anywhere, giving teams the chance to fully evaluate their existing young talent first before deciding whether a genuine fit exists on both sides. That appears to be exactly the patient, methodical approach Buffalo is taking here. The expectation is that the Bills closely evaluate their young receivers throughout the entirety of training camp before committing to any final decision. If Keon Coleman shows real, tangible signs that he's ready to become that consistent outside threat this offense has been waiting for, then perhaps no outside move ends up being necessary at all. But if real questions remain, if injuries strike, or if the coaching staff simply concludes that Josh Allen genuinely needs one more dependable weapon in his arsenal, then bringing in a proven veteran like Hopkins or Cooks becomes a very realistic, very live possibility. And here's an important point worth emphasizing. This wouldn't be about replacing Keon Coleman at all. If anything, it's about creating healthy internal competition, and competition tends to make everyone around it better. Rather than placing the entire burden of instant stardom squarely on Coleman's shoulders, a proven veteran addition would give him valuable time to continue developing at his own pace while simultaneously giving Josh Allen another genuinely reliable target to lean on right now. Depth wins championships. We've watched that exact pattern play out across this league time and time again. A single significant injury can completely derail an otherwise promising season, while a single smart veteran addition can completely stabilize an entire offense. That philosophy, prioritizing every possible edge during Josh Allen's genuine MVP caliber prime, deserves real credit from this front office. To be clear, no signing appears to be imminent right now. Every indication suggests the Bills remain genuinely patient, planning to closely monitor how training camp unfolds before pulling the trigger on any final roster decision. But there's a growing credible belief circulating around the league that if Buffalo ultimately decides it wants to add another proven veteran receiver before the regular season begins, DeAndre Hopkins and Brandon Cooks will be among the very first names this front office picks up the phone to call. The defensive superstar Buffalo might still be missing now. Let's shift over to the other side of the football, because this story raises a question that's been generating real buzz around the entire league lately. ESPN recently ranked the Buffalo Bills as having the fourth best overall roster in the entire NFL heading into 2026. A genuinely impressive vote of confidence in everything this front office has built. But despite all that talent, one nagging concern keeps resurfacing whenever league executives discuss this Buffalo roster. Who exactly is the defensive player that opposing offenses truly have to fear? On the offensive side, that question answers itself instantly. Josh Allen is one of the biggest, most feared superstars in all of football. A player every single opposing defensive coordinator has to build their entire weekly game plan around. But on defense, multiple league executives reportedly believe Buffalo is still missing that singular dominant edge rusher, the kind of player capable of completely taking over a football game when everything is on the line. NFL insider Jason Leonhard recently reported that this sentiment is shared widely among league executives, and he went a step further by naming one specific player he believes Buffalo should genuinely pursue: Josh Sweat of the Arizona Cardinals. Leonhard even quoted an anonymous NFL general manager who didn't hold back in the slightest, bluntly stating that Buffalo still doesn't have that singular guy and that it's genuinely difficult to reach where this organization ultimately wants to go without one. That same executive also pointed out that Buffalo isn't expected to bring back veteran pass rusher Von Miller, and that last season's one-year experiment with Joey Bosa didn't fully solve this team's ongoing pass rush concerns. Leonhard went even further, suggesting he genuinely believes someone around the league is eventually going to pry Josh Sweat away from Arizona, largely because, in his assessment, Sweat doesn't particularly want to remain there, and the Cardinals themselves aren't realistically close to competing for a championship anytime soon. Now, to be fair to what Buffalo has already built up front, this isn't exactly a bare cupboard. The Bills have invested real, significant resources along the defensive line over the past several seasons. Greg Rousseau has developed into one of the more well-rounded defensive ends in all of football, and even without consistently piling up double-digit sack totals, he's become a genuinely valuable, complete player against both the run and the pass. There's also real, tangible excitement building around what new defensive coordinator Jim Leonhard might be able to unlock out of Rousseau within this new defensive system. Add in veteran Bradley Chubb, promising second-round rookie T.J. Parker, and Michael Holt, who is still working his way back from an Achilles injury, and you've genuinely got a pretty deep overall group up front. But here's the real distinction worth drawing out. The question here was never really about whether this defensive line group is talented. It's whether it's genuinely dominant. When you study recent Super Bowl contenders across the league, you'll notice a clear, recurring pattern. Most of them feature one truly elite singular pass rusher capable of completely altering how an opposing offense has to approach an entire game plan. Think about names like Myles Garrett, T.J. Watt, Nick Bosa, Max Crosby, Trey Hendrickson, and yes, even Josh Sweat himself during Philadelphia's championship run not too long ago. These are exactly the caliber of defenders that opposing offensive coordinators spend an entire week of preparation specifically trying to neutralize. And right now, it's a completely fair question to ask whether Buffalo actually possesses that exact kind of singular game-wrecking talent. That's precisely what makes Josh Sweat such a genuinely intriguing name to watch. At 29 years old, he remains firmly in his athletic prime. Over just the past 2 seasons alone, he's compiled 20 total sacks while producing the best individual pressure rates of his entire career. This wouldn't be a situation where Buffalo brings in an aging, declining veteran purely for limited rotational snaps. Josh Sweat would immediately step in as one of the single biggest defensive impact players on this entire roster. Of course, there's one major obstacle standing in the way of this entire scenario. NFL Network insider Ian Rappaport has reported that the Arizona Cardinals currently have no genuine intention of trading Josh Sweat, despite all the swirling rumors and speculation. But Lanfranchi believes that stance could realistically shift if the right offer eventually presents itself. So what might a genuinely reasonable trade package actually look like? One specific proposal floating around suggests Buffalo could offer a 2027 third-round pick in exchange for Josh Sweat while receiving a 2027 sixth-round pick back from Arizona in the deal. And if additional teams begin bidding for Sweat's services, there's speculation that Buffalo could even structure that outgoing pick as conditional, allowing it to escalate into a second-round selection if Sweat hits certain individual performance milestones during his time in Buffalo. That kind of structured, incentive-based thinking genuinely makes sense when you consider the broader landscape. Finding a truly elite, difference-making pass rusher late in the first round of the draft is an extremely difficult proposition. Sometimes proven, established production is simply worth far more than uncertain future draft potential. To be clear, Josh Sweat isn't quite on the level of Myles Garrett, Max Crosby, or Trey Hendrickson, but he absolutely possesses the individual talent to make an already strong Buffalo defense significantly more dangerous. Whether Arizona is genuinely willing to move him remains an entirely separate question, but if there's even a small, realistic chance he becomes available, this front office genuinely has to make that phone call. There's nothing to lose simply by asking, and when a team is this close to legitimately competing for a Super Bowl, every single opportunity for improvement deserves serious, thorough consideration. What this all really means, step back and look at both of these storylines together, and they genuinely tell you something important about exactly where this Buffalo Bills organization currently stands. This is not a team quietly rebuilding. This is not a team simply hoping to surprise people. This is a team that fully understands its championship window is wide open right now, and this front office is acting with exactly that kind of urgency. Whether it's exploring proven veteran receivers like DeAndre Hopkins and Brandon Cooks to give Josh Allen one more dependable weapon, or seriously weighing whether a player like Josh Sweat could elevate this defense into truly elite territory. Every single conversation keeps circling back to the exact same singular goal: winning a Super Bowl. Josh Allen has already firmly proven he can carry this franchise on his own. This front office has already built one of the deepest, most complete rosters in all of football. This coaching staff has this team competing at a genuinely high level year after year. But Bills Mafia isn't interested in simply celebrating division titles anymore. Everyone wants the exact same thing now: watching this team finally, fully break through. And the genuinely encouraging part of this entire story is that Buffalo doesn't appear satisfied with the status quo. They're still actively evaluating every possible avenue for improvement. They're not assuming this current roster is already perfect as constructed, and honestly, that relentless mindset is exactly what separates true championship-caliber organizations from everyone else chasing them. Will DeAndre Hopkins or Brandon Cooks actually end up wearing a Buffalo Bills uniform this season? We'll simply have to wait and see how it all plays out. Will Josh Sweat ever genuinely become available if Arizona's stance eventually shifts? Nobody can say for certain right now. But the simple fact that Buffalo continues getting connected to players capable of making an immediate, meaningful impact tells you everything about how seriously this front office understands exactly what's at stake this season. Every single roster move matters right now. Every single upgrade matters, because genuine opportunities to win a Super Bowl simply don't stay open forever, even when you happen to have a quarterback as uniquely special as Josh Allen leading the way. So now we want to hear from all of you. Would you rather see the Bills sign DeAndre Hopkins, sign Brandon Cooks, or leave this current receiver room exactly as it is? And on the defensive side, if Josh Sweat genuinely became available, would you pull the trigger on that trade? If so, what would you personally be willing to give up to get it done? Drop your thoughts down in the comments, because we know Bills Mafia always has strong, passionate opinions, and we genuinely cannot wait to read what you think. If you enjoyed today's breakdown, do us a favor and smash that like button. It genuinely helps this channel grow. And if you're new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button too, because we're covering every single twist and turn of this Bills offseason all the way through training camp and into kickoff. Thanks so much for watching and for being part of this amazing community. Go Bills, and we'll see you in the next one.